Today on Burning Butterflies, what happens when moms go wild?
Exactly. Mom's gone wild. And not in like the college way, but like throwing hands in the church bathroom way.
You don't want to miss this one. Faith can feel like hearts and butterflies until someone lights a match and burns it all to the ground. Welcome to the Burning Butterflies podcast.
The sad thing is that there's abuse of every kind within the church. But the spiritual abuse is the stuff that just
It's a place there shouldn't be abuse. Like, there just shouldn't be abuse in a place that claims to.
Well, it ruins your soul. If you're new here, we suggest listening to our prologue episode first. This is the story of three women's journey through spiritual abuse and leaving a toxic church culture, all while finding healing in the end.
Sometimes it's just the facts, and if you get offended by it, that's a you issue. And if we can't be mature enough to have these conversations, even if some of the topics are difficult, then shame on us.
So, on a previous episode, we had talked about this new leadership structure that had come out of the trip to California. And we introduced you to Mr. and Mrs. Vanilla. Mr. Vanilla has been licensed as a pastor. And he comes in with these ideas, grand ideas. He is looking at what other people are doing. He is constantly listening to other pastors, reading other books. He is wanting to grow his knowledge. The problem with that is Tom doesn't like that. So when Pastor Younggun brings up all of these things about how these people are struggling in their marriages, he's finding that more and more as he's connecting with families. So Mr. Vanilla comes in and he's like, hey, me and my wife went to this conference. And so it was kind of like a weekend conference. And so, like, am I understanding that correct, Melissa? Like what him and his wife had gone to? Or did they go through the whole thing?
You know, honestly, like, I think they just did a conference and the program has like an ongoing thing.
Yeah.
So that was my understanding. I mean,
MLM.
You know, they're not here. Don't quote me on that. But my understanding at the time was that they had gone to like one of those Weekend to Remember conferences, but it was for a different curriculum. But the curriculum also was like an in-depth, like a Celebrate Recovery, you know, it was like called Reengage, but it was focused on like, it's like a marriage Bible study that's ongoing that you can bring to your church. But the conference had helped them and changed their lives. So that's my understanding.
It's just a different version of an MLM. Reengage is actually, if you look at how it's billed to church leaders, it's a serving ministry. It's really not a marriage ministry.
Oh, okay.
You are serving others to help them with their marriage, but basically it's just love and respect style. It's not meant to get as deep as it did at Come As You Are. It's geared more towards people who, you know, just have like not real marriage problems, I guess.
Well, there's like different levels in marriages. Like you have like functional marriages where like there's nothing like you have a healthy level of marriage. Like, are there problems? Are there issues? Yeah. You know, you've got people, you've got family. There's always going to be, you know, areas where there's like not agreeing or whatever. Right. And that's the level I think it was at. And then you have like, and I call that like you have two healthy adults in a relationship together doing things and trying to work things together, and both people want to see it succeed. Then you have this level beneath that of like maybe you have one healthy person and one dysfunctional person. And so there's strife and there's conflict, but still, both people are trying to make it work and have a vision for like the future in a sense. But then you have like the dysfunctional marriages, which I think is where more of come as you are marriages landed. And normal, and I hate to use the word normal, but like your everyday marriage advice, when you apply that into very toxic situations, it actually makes it worse. And I think you find a lot of people who are, I think you do have a lot of marriages that are on like the healthy, bound within churches, but then they try to give their healthy marriage advice to the dysfunctional marriages and it doesn't work. And they don't realize that because I've run into old ladies and they're like, yeah, when George gets mad, I just XYZ or whatever, right? Or pat him on the back and tell him, good job, buddy, and then I let him calm down. And if I make him a little muffin, a little brownie, he's very happy at the end of the day. And then we never go to bed mad and just a little peck on the cheek and we go to bed, right? Okay. Like, and then you're like, lady, if I did that in my marriage, I'm getting my ass kicked, right? Like, it just doesn't.
Exactly.
It doesn't work that way. So I do think that there's definitely, from my observation, just different levels of how. And so I don't think, like you said, as deep as we went at Come As You Are, people were hungry and starving for real help in their dysfunctional marriages. And I don't think anybody realized the can of worms that was going to get opened when we actually peeled back this layer.
Tom never looks at the demographics. So you have a demographic of people that, have addictions in their past, have been married multiple times, have blended families. Those are all really hard things to do if you're healthy or not. And then you have lower income that cannot afford therapy. And you have this middle class oil field type of guy that is never going to go to therapy. And Tom is preaching from stage, therapy's no good. So you have these millennial and Gen X women who would love to go to therapy with their husband, but it's not an option. So when Re-engage comes, they use it as a therapy session.
Right. And everything's related back to this, like, I met my sweetheart at like, as a teenager, we got married and we've been together for all that. And you're supposed to like meet that ideal. And then also that whole 1950s housewife propaganda that's come in. And so, yeah, I could see why
it's love and respect.
It's a disaster.
Yeah. So Tom doesn't like Re-engage because he would have to do research. He would have to vet it. There's all of this stuff that goes into bringing an outside thing into the church. So Tom shuts it down very quickly. We are not doing Re-engage. And Tom's favorite thing, this is why, the very first VBS, we didn't use curriculum. We had to write our own. Just recently, I had heard, because like, I have no shame. I listen to what they do just because I'm curious and I want to know if like, are we actually making changes or are we just doing the same old crap? Right. Nope. Tom announced from stage that they threw away all their children's ministry curriculum because their people can do better.
And oh my gosh. But like, even like, I bet like it's one word, like, hey, we went to this conference. It's called Re-engage. We should do it here. He's like, nope, we're not doing that. We could do better. Like, it was so quick. There is no,
no,
he thought
there was no
it.
conversation. Yeah. Pastor Vanilla didn't have to come in and plead his case.
Nope.
And Tom took time and thought about it and prayed about it. There was none of that happened. It was full on. Tom was like, no. If we want to do something, we can do it ourselves.
Yeah.
So
the cult doesn't need outside curriculum. My God, they're still
if God is
they're still doing it.
Do that. If God's asking you to do that as Come As You Are, and we have all these gifted people here, why wouldn't God be asking those people to do this with you?
Mm-hmm.
That's what he got.
Yeah. All of this mind control And all it is a giant mind F to make you think that you are better than anyone else.
Yep.
Our church is doing things so correctly. We don't have to use the stuff that other people are doing. And they have resources and research and all of this stuff that backs them. No, we are just stay-at-home moms and people who never went to seminary, and we're going to throw together something amazing.
Right.
And
not people who went to school to write curriculum and understand like all of the technology behind it.
You when we're on our second marriage, and it just so happens to be working because we don't have any kids in the house. And I'm not saying honestly, I think second marriages often work better than first marriages. Especially if you get married young and then your second marriage you're older, but the demographics don't match up on the advice either.
Yeah,
so that's a big problem.
So Tom decides he is going to put on a marriage conference. So what Reengage had, like you said, Melissa, is there is like a little conference thing, but then like you could take that, what you learned at the conference, and you could implement it. And it's a long-term ongoing thing that you can implement into your church. Very MLM, like you said, Brandi.
It's Marriage Encounter.
Yeah.
The heart stickers on the cars in the 80s.
So Tom doesn't want to do any of that because he'd have to vet it. But then also like you have to buy their stuff. And Tom is not going to spend any money on anything other than stuff he absolutely has to, or to, make the worship team better. Exactly. And so he's like, well, we'll just do our own. So he sets up this whole thing. So this is all decided so quickly. Like, seriously, I think it was like January it was announced, and we had like just weeks to get people signed up for it. It was a free conference. It was meant to be like Friday night. You come, we feed you dinner, and you get like worship and then like a little intro into what we're doing. And then Saturday you come back, and it's an all-day conference. So you have like, a light breakfast, conference style stuff all day long. You get lunch, and then it's done like early afternoon, early evening. Time.
And like, let's be real clear. Like the membership banquet is the end of January, the mid-January. And this conference was Valentine's weekend. And the conversations to do this were maybe a couple weeks before they announced it at the membership banquet.
Yeah. What Tom does at the banquet is he likes to present his vision for the church, right? And so up until this point, Tom has done this himself. He has Pastor Ol Reliable, but I highly doubt Pastor Ol Reliable has any visions for the church. He is someone who is going to sit down, and Tom's going to be like, this is what I think God is saying. And Pastor Ol Reliable is going to be like, you know what, Tom, I agree. And so he's not really throwing out anything, really like meat and potato stuff to add to what Tom is wanting to do. But now he has Pastor Young Gun, and he is like all in. He has ideas. He has plans. He wants to get stuff going. Then you bring in Vanilla, and he has a bunch of ideas also. And so now Tom has to play ball with other people. Right. He doesn't just have a pastor that's telling him, oh, yes, that's a great idea. I love how you listen to the Lord, Tom. He has other people who are actually challenging him.
Right. And so go ahead.
No, go.
I was going to say, so our divine leader is going to sit down and have a divine appointment with the Lord and be divinely inspired to write this marriage conference, something that has never come into his world before. He's never had a thought about doing anything for marriages for years. And now is the time.
We're going to write a whole damn conference in a matter of less than a month.
That's what in a matter of weeks. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
hey, Tom.
I think,
and if it's 5 weeks, I'd be shocked.
But we all believed that. Everybody believed that. Like, how asinine is that we
Because I made some good Kool-Aid, that's why.
that up.
Yeah. And we believe that that's how you should function. I mean, I had insomnia for a week straight writing my women's retreat talks, but I had convinced myself that's how God talks to you.
Yeah.
Is you're not going to sleep and you're just going to write it all down in a week.
God said, go. We got to go.
Yeah.
We got to go. God said it. Now we're shifting gears. God's moving.
But in all reality, you're riding on like manic dopamine is all you're doing. And so,
but let's be real. That's what you were doing. That's what all the people actually doing this stuff were doing. So we assumed that when Tom locked himself in his office to be divinely inspired to write a marriage conference, that he was also doing the same thing. And like, it was so quick that he could do it because he was having these epiphanies and these like sleepless nights and writing this and tirelessly like just drowning himself in it because that's what we were doing to meet the same output of what he had. So let's talk about that.
Because like you said, like in that moment, that's what we all thought was happening. I am not allowed in the office very much at this point. The lead of children's ministry, you know, our friendship is starting to divide, and so, you know, I'm not in the office at all. This is like roughly around the same time as I have been offered a job that didn't really exist situation. And so part of me thinks I was invited in to help Tom because he wanted to do the little white binders. Okay, so Tom writes this marriage conference and everyone is going to get the little white binders because those are the end all be all at Come As You Are. Like everything we do is in these little white binders. Now we know there's a reason for that.
Really quick? Can I say something really quick? Just want to be okay. Just I want everybody like listening to just like think about this for a second. Like this church has a little white binder that you are supposed to get when you first attend. Like you go to you get it by going to 101. You are supposed to carry this white binder with you to everything, and everything the church does is designed to fit in the white binder. This is like your church Bible. Every sermon note, you're supposed to come to church with your white binder and add the sermon notes and fill up your white binder. And when you fill that one up, you can be awarded another one. Okay. Like this is what it's intended
for $5.
For $5. Nobody does it. Like everybody has a white binder.
Jason does this.
What? Which makes so much sense why Charlotte loves him.
He shows her too.
Oh my gosh. No way.
Like a little kid. Mom, look at my white binder. I'm doing what I'm supposed to.
Notes and puts them in there and he tells me that I'm not, why am I not doing it? Where are your notes?
See, that's what it's for. But I don't know. I had like 3 of them, but like I didn't keep the sermon notes. I never but I felt bad. Like I always felt like I was this bad kid because I didn't have my white notebook. But 99% of the people didn't bring their white notebook to church. I mean,
exactly. But it was like the women's retreat sweatshirts. When you come in, if you want Kool-Aid, you want the sweatshirt and you want the binder.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So go ahead, Amanda. Sorry. I just wanted to catch everybody up. Like they need to understand the insanity of these white binders.
Well, and like, so I want everyone to envision they are like the size of like a half a sheet of piece of paper. So it's not like your kids go back to school, you go buy like a 3-ring binder, right? That holds a full sheet of paper. This is like if you were to cut a piece of paper in half, they're a half binder.
Yeah.
They're like 5.5 inches tall or something like that. And so like you have to buy special hole punches to go with them. Like people went out and bought these special hole punches to hole punch stuff to put into the, like, there are old ladies who would have scrapbooking days, and they would help you create, little tabs to put in your binder to separate out your retreat notes and your sermon notes and all of these things. You would make a nice little cover sheet that would slip into the front cover. Like, I mean, asinine, right? So Tom wants to use the white binders, and he wants to put everything together into a white binder. The problem with that is that we did this as a free conference. We opened it up to our church body, but then he also started opening it up to the whole community. Like, we put it on the sign, we put it in the newspaper, I put it on Facebook, all of this stuff, right? And Tom said we were going to record this. This is what he told me. We're going to record this conference, and then we can have, if people are struggling with their marriages, we're just going to give them the CDs and the notes to go through the conference. So I think Tom was trying to kill two birds with one stone with this a little bit of, he can do it, and everyone's going to look at him like, oh my gosh, look at what Tom did. This was great. This was amazing. This church saved my marriage. Tom saved my marriage. But then also, Tom doesn't like people. Tom doesn't like dealing with people's crap. And so if he has something that he can do once and then send you back, that's why Master Life is his bread and butter. Because you should just go through Master Life, and then, because there was even points in time. Well, and there's even points of time where he would be like, we don't need to do things like Celebrate Recovery or things like that, because if you would just go through Master Life and live out Master Life, you don't need all these other programs.
Right.
And so I think that is what Tom was trying to do with this. The problem is that so many people signed up. We were going to have to spend quite a bit of money because these little binders are like $5-6 a piece. We were going to have to spend a lot of money to buy this many binders, because you don't just get one as a couple. Every single person gets one. And so he decided that he didn't want to have to spend that much money. And he was trying to figure out solutions, right? So he asked me to come in to the office and figure out how we're going to put this together in a book. If we, he talked about buying one of the machines that, like the elementary school libraries had, like with the plastic, like, spiral.
Oh, yeah. You make the spiral
thingy.
binder. Just make it turn it into a spiral binder. Yeah, it's special paper cutter, and then you put the bind on it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, he looked at that. He looked at all of these things, but everything was so expensive. He didn't want to spend the money. And so what it came down to was, I dug through the closet, because there is a supply closet in the office that anything that has ever been used, whatever leftovers are there, it all gets shoved into this closet. So at some point, someone had bought those report covers, like you use them in college, even sometimes in high school. It's like a clear plastic thing, and you put it over. You put it over your papers, and then there's like a hard colored plastic bind thing, that goes down the spine, and you slide it on, and it basically just holds all your papers together. You don't hole punch or anything. And I had found one of those. We looked them up, and he's like, "Oh, these are cheap. Let's do these." Which we're in 2016. I mean, you can order stuff online, all of this, but again, we're doing everything so last minute. I believe this is the week of the conference that he calls me in. And so we don't have time to order stuff on Amazon or anything, but Tom doesn't understand how stuff works. And so he calls Office Depot in like the big town next to us, right? And is like, I need you to like set aside a case of these, like, and I'm going to send my person to go and buy it. And this is the first time I get to use Tom's card.
Ooh.
Not like the church card, but Tom gives me Tom's church card.
Yeah.
And so, which I'm like, it's February. We're not having a run on report covers. Like
It's
he's
okay,
like,
they're gonna have them.
he's like, they have 2 cases set aside for us. And I was like, I guarantee, like,
they have 20 on the shelf.
yeah, but he's like, you need to leave now. Like, you need to leave and you need to go go now. And I'm like,
when that credit card comes out, you are on an important mission.
Yes. So I go get them. I come back. Well, the problem is that Tom has everything formatted in this little half.
Yeah, for the white binder.
The worst to work with.
And so we're having to make it bigger. But the way he has it formatted still is weird. Like, we had, what do you call them? Like, we had templates that you would open up. And so if you wanted to do something in the little white binder, so for women's retreat, when we did notes, you would open up the template. The margins are already done and everything.
Right.
Like, this is how Tom does his Sunday.
I was going to say, he has his own template because it's how he does his sermon notes. This should be, if you're writing.
So it's because it's cut and pasted from purpose driven.
Yeah.
Not just his sermon notes, but like the papers he holds that he reads off of.
Everything like, he has a template for to make this so easy.
And so what he had it, even in the small binder version, still wasn't like the right template. And so we were trying to it was a cluster because we were trying to resize things and it was just a mess. And I couldn't figure out, I was like, what do you even have your margins and stuff set to? Like, I don't know how he did this, but like you just said, Brandi, it's cut and paste. And so I was not aware.
Really manipulate it, and that's why it was so hard with women's retreat all the time, because this manipulation of this takes hours every year.
Yeah, and so I was not aware at this time that there is such a thing as purpose-driven marriage. I had heard of a purpose-driven life. I had heard of a purpose-driven church. And so we're trying to resize this thing, and at one point, I'm like, so like, we need it like this. And he's like, oh, well, that's the original size. And so in my head, I'm like, why would you have not just opened up your template and started typing? If you knew you wanted to use it in this white, but like, it did not make sense to me.
Like, you're thinking in your mind, it's been presented, because we all thought this, that he was writing a marriage Bible study. Yeah. And then when you get there, I mean, because to me, I'm like, you use this template every Sunday. You open up your white binder template and you're going to put the marriage information into it. And then you thought it was odd. Why would you have written it on an 8x10 when you needed a 5x8? And, but you chalk it up to he's just Tom and he's got no idea what he's doing.
Well, and like, I chalked it up to like, he's old, like he's a boomer. He don't know, like, old Tom, like, okay, that makes whatever. But like, it was just so weird to me. But I had no idea that there was something called the purpose-driven marriage.
And let's be honest.
And there is
the 3 of us didn't realize this until we were planning out this episode, because we were alluded that he was writing it, but he never said he was writing it. He used words like creating it and making it. And there was something else that
I put together.
Put it together. We're going to put it together. Yeah.
Yeah, I put together. So I don't know this is a thing. And now come to find out there's a book, but then there's like a little Bible study that goes along with it of a purpose-driven marriage. And now, like you said, like when we were putting together this podcast, it was like, oh my gosh.
Right.
Because then it like clicks for me and I go back to this comment that he made, because we're copying things and like Tom doesn't know how to run the copy machine. And so he runs things through. He is like, oh, we need like, 60 copies or whatever we needed. I'm just going to put the whole stack in there and hit 60 and hit start. Well, he didn't collate it. And so you have double-sided, but then like it did like 60 copies of page 1 and then 60 copies of page 2. It didn't like put them together
in order.
And so we had to lay everything all out on the table in the office, and we had to go through and put it in order. So as you're doing that, like I'm kind of like looking at these pages as I'm picking them up, and it says something about small groups. Well, by this point, Brandi has said that she's doing childcare for this thing. I know Brandi's using the gym, and she's planning on using some of the classrooms around the gym. And so I'm like, well, where are we doing the small groups at? Like, are they just doing them at their tables? And he's like, we're not breaking into small groups. And I was like, okay, well, like this says, and he's like, oh, okay. And he seemed like confused when I said, where are the small groups at? He seemed confused. Why would I say that there were small groups?
But you alluded that you wrote this, sir, and you don't know that you put small groups in there.
And so then he was like, oh, and he's like, well, we have to throw all of this away. I forgot to take that part out. And so I thought like originally, like in the moment, I'm like, okay, originally you were going to do small groups. You decided against your mind. You missed a section, whatever. But now I'm like, he totally ripped off.
Right. And now that you've seen a purpose-driven marriage and you're like, wow, that looks oddly familiar.
Well, and the reason for all the explanation of the binders, everything, because this is for every event, it's like this. He prints out, he doesn't collate. We can't throw the paper away. We have to waste hours manually collating it. Even when you know something's wrong, your brain never goes in the way of, is he cutting and pasting? Because from stage, everything is all this mythology and storytelling about how we've done all these amazing things and the community is always waiting for more.
Yeah.
So, you know, in 1997 we did this, and now, you know, God has shown me how to do this and I've tweaked it and it's going to be even better. So that's why no one questions anything, because there's so much.
Well, and it's also why the stuff that he's shown and the vision that he has is 100 times better than the stuff that, and well more put together, you know, like he goes in, like, I was divinely inspired to write this marriage conference, and you and I are going, man, that would have taken me like years and a ton of research and all of this. Like, it's so well done that it puts him up on this pedestal that nobody can attain. Well, it's so well done because a team of people wrote it, Tom. You know, your team of people who are Rick Warren's people who are, come on.
Essentially, he ripped this off. And like, also, like, I've been thinking about this, and I half wonder, is this why we do everything for free?
Yeah.
And yes, I understand Tom's whole, like, I don't want, you know, people to feel like the church is after their money, because that's how I felt and all of that crap. But like, really, honestly, from like a legality standpoint, is this why we do so much for free? Is because he knows deep down if we were to sell it, he could get in some deep trouble.
No, yeah, well, but even like if you think about stuff that you've come across that you were like, because you and I have done stuff, all of us have done stuff where we've had to look into the licensing of stuff, and we've gotten products. I personally have gotten products where it says you can use this. You can
to do XYZ.
You can even manipulate this document. Like, you don't have to use it in its full. You can use parts of it, but you are not allowed to sell it, and you're not allowed to, like, there's like legality to that. So I think you just hit the nail on the head, my dear.
Yeah. So we finally get these things put together, right? Tom, his vision is that we move all of the rows of chairs out of the sanctuary. We set up the tables banquet style, and we have them, with the nice linens and all the crap, right? Which, FYI, Tom's nice linens are all of the things from Melissa's wedding, all of her like table runners and all of that. Those are the nice linens that the church uses for years and years and years.
Wow.
Yeah. So like your black squares.
Oh my goodness.
And
gracious.
yep.
And I had it in my basement for years.
Oh my goodness.
Yep. So we have the nice linens from Melissa's wedding.
That. Yeah, my wedding was nice. All right. No, just kidding. Go ahead.
Yeah. So we have the nice linens from Melissa's wedding, and then Pastor O'Reliable's wife. Every year for the membership banquet, she has these like square mirrors, and then these like hurricane glasses that you could put like candles in and all of this stuff. So we have to go and get all of that from her.
So and it basically looked like my wedding because I used her mirrors and the hurricanes over like, so the church's white linens that you have to like rent with your soul and return.
Well, and there's a hierarchy to this too.
Oh, tell us.
Yeah. So you can't just go over and get the mirrors.
No.
Like, cannot use the mirrors for everything because it took me. The only reason the mirrors are being used for this event, because this is the
only reason I was allowed to use them for my wedding. Like, they were not wanted. I mean, I felt like I had to sell my soul to get them. That woman did not want to give them to me
because she paid for all of that. So once you're fully in, you're buying all this stuff for the church. And that's why I kept all your wedding stuff in my basement for 10 years, because it's expensive to put on an event. And the magic money never shows up that, find your leaders, build a team never happens. And so it's years before I can get the mirrors for, I think, a women's event. Wow. But like they never go to retreats.
Well, and when you use them, you have to call her and you have to say, Charlotte told me to call you and ask if I could use, because if you don't mention Charlotte, she's going to give you the runaround and you're not going to be able to use them.
Yeah, because that's what I did.
Cleaned and put away a certain way.
No, because I was told, remember my marriage episode, my wedding episode, when I was like, people were like, call this person. I called her and I was like, I got to calling you about the mirrors, and I got the runaround. Like, and then I had to be like, oh, Charlotte said, and then I got them. Yeah. Oh my goodness gracious. I forgot about that.
So we have this all set up, right? And so Tom's grand vision is that he will have at every table, there will be a lead couple. But you're not a leader. You are a facilitator. This is Tom's favorite way to put you in your place, to let you know that you are not a leader. You are just a facilitator. You are there to go through the conference with everyone else. You need the conference just as bad as everyone else, but you have been given a nugget of insider information, and pretty much your only job is to keep the conversation going, because if you are at a table with people who don't want to talk, you need to like coax them into having conversation, right? But then if you have someone who talks too much, you are taught the fine art of shutting them down in a loving way. And that's not even being snarky about it. That is verbatim. What Charlotte would say is you need to shut them down in a loving way.
And this is why I am never a facilitator or at a table.
I tried. Oh my gosh. I tried. I stumbled into being a facilitator at a new Bible study that I was going to, and it stressed me out. I felt the whole time like my job, like you don't even get anything out of the study because you're so focused on, are they talking too much? Are they not talking at all? This is all my responsibility. Like Amanda went to that study with me. Like I invited her along, and it was the worst experience of my life. And this is not a come as you are. And this is not how facilitating is done. And I ruined the whole thing for myself and probably other people because I was so worried about being a quote unquote facilitator and and having to move the conversation and shut people down. I got nothing out of the study and gave myself like a neurotic breakdown because of it. And guess what? That's not what facilitating is. So moving along.
No, not at all. And so this is Tom's grand idea. So Tom, because we put this together so fast, Tom is desperate to find these table leaders, right? So he's asking all sorts of people. He does ask if Justin and I would be a table leader, and we say hard pass.
Well, hold on. Let's be real. So
there's yeah.
He's like, I want you. You're specially hand chosen. And then we filled up the first table. So now I have to go to my B squad, then my C squad, then my D squad. Like as the tables are filling up, we go more into the people that he would have never selected. But yes, at some point in the draft, the facilitator table draft, he asked you and Justin, and you guys say, not just no, hell no.
Yeah, we're like hard pass. Anytime we do anything to do with marriage, crap hits the fan. It goes off the rails for us. We are finally we're all of the stuff I talked about in my depression episode. We are starting to come out of that. I have found a job. I'm working outside the home now. Justin's stress level is lowering. We are starting to get back on track in our marriage. And we're like, we are not doing this. We are not doing anything that is going to rock the boat. We are doing well. We're not doing this. And so I kind of am like, I'm not going anywhere near that thing. I'm not going to touch this with a 10-foot pole because I know at some point I'm going to be dragged in to help do something. And I don't want to do that. And I love Brandi, but I really don't want to sit and do childcare all day long. And so I am like, yeah, we're not available. So he gets these people and to be clear, we were not A-list, B-list. We were probably he was desperate for some more, and but Brandi,
he wants his originals. He wants his originals to lead the tables, but they are tired. You get very, very tired. So a lot of the commenting around this time is, it's your turn. It's your turn to do this.
Yep.
We're tired.
I did my time.
Yes. Which I used to get very angry with, but now I understand why.
Yeah. So, Brandi, you did, because I didn't go to this. Melissa, you and Froggy.
No. The funny thing about this is, and this is going to come up in our next episode or so, of we were not even asked to participate. It was assumed that we would not be participating because if you remember, so this is 2016 and it's Valentine's Day weekend. This is the 1-year anniversary of the tragic event that happened the year before. And Froggy and I are working for the family that suffered this tragic event. And it is assumed that we are working because they are, having this 1-year anniversary of this awful thing that happened. And so there is no mention of it to us. I knew it was going on, but there was never any oh, are you going? Or oh, it's so sad you can't go, or maybe we can make it work. There was nothing. We weren't asked. We weren't included. And honestly, for the same reasons as you, Amanda, I was happy about, I didn't want to go. And I was on eggshells that they were going to ask us to do something, and they never did. And I was so relieved. I felt like we flied under the radar. I was like, thank God, because same thing. As soon as we do something with our marriages, shit, crap's going to hit the fan. So I'm like, no, thank you. But we were not expected to be there. It was not implied that we were going to be there. We were busy doing the Lord's work, helping this family. We have to run the business while they're gone, kind of a thing. And just hold on to that nugget because it's going to be very important in the next couple of episodes. So Brandi's the only one who went to go with the babies.
What's funny is, So there is an A team that makes the church run, and I would have never admitted to this, but Amanda and I can make anything happen to get these events off the ground. Amanda is not there, so I only know what is usually happening in the other parts of the church because Amanda's there, and we are tag teaming because I'm usually with the kids. So there is no one helping put out fires in the sanctuary during this. So I'm in the gym getting ready for childcare, getting crafts and all the things we're going to do because it's going to be all day, well, all night, all day Saturday.
Real quick, are you and Jason ever asked if you would participate as a couple? It's just assumed that you're going to be there to do childcare.
Yes, by this point in time, which, you know, I got there I got there May 2014. This is February 2016, and I am already solidified as the church childcare provider. So any event that is happening, I am automatically doing it. There's no question about it, but I'm not upset about it because it is like a badge of honor that I'm in charge of childcare for every event. So at this point, Tom doesn't realize that Amanda and I are making a lot of things happen. Like BBS is happening because of Amanda and I. And like I said, we would have never said these things before, but the truth of the matter is we can get things done. So I'm only focused on what's happening in the gym. I'm not worried about anything else. Something happens and it's not going well because there's all these moving pieces that Tom never thinks about. You know, like, is someone going to greet people, direct people? How are they going to know what table they're going to? What about their stuff they need? So Beth Moore gets called in because she needs to run sound. And she also can work under fire and make things happen.
Okay,
and,
wait.
You know,
but okay, so Beth Moore is the family that had the tragic event, and this is the 1-year anniversary, and they called her from her home to come and run the sound booth.
Yes, and none of us acknowledge this. We are so hyper-focused on this is the most important event happening in Colorado on this weekend. Everyone's coming. They're traveling because they are ready for this marriage event. So when she comes in, there's no like, I'm sorry, da-da-da. We all start coming at her with all the problems happening. So she's used to this, though. So she just starts in, you know, because I'm sure I run up to the sound booth 1,500 times and tell her all kinds of things. They get whatever going. Now the worship team's coming in, people that are going to be helping. But, you know, the core people have already been at the church for hours making this happen. And then now the quote unquote leaders come into the church that are, you know, seen as the leaders in the church, but they come in, drop their kids, and then they stand around and talk. Because there's really only about 5 to 6 people that make things actually happen. And these people usually aren't called leaders. So, the kids start coming in. We're doing our thing. Everything's going great. And I get word, you know, someone's running back and forth saying, you know, they're doing worship right now. So there's usually someone always coming in to let me know where the adults are at so that when there's like a break, whatever, I can be prepared for the parents to come in because we try to avoid chaos at all turns. So at this point, worship's happening. Everything's going great. And I don't know a whole lot of what the order of how things went. I'm assuming Tom got up on stage, talked about marriage. I do not believe they started going through the books yet. What I think happened was there was worship. Tom gave basically a sermon. They got their food and everyone was eating. And I think this was a very special event because I think the kids actually got pizza. And so we're doing that. We're having a great time. I have youth in helping me. So while we're eating, at this point, the youth room is in the gym. And there's a bigger classroom that has couches in it. And I don't know a lot of the youth kids. Like, I know them from VBS. And
so hold on. So the help that
happened.
So you're in charge of the childcare, and the help that they sent you was youth kids. Like, this is a youth serving opportunity. We have one adult, like teenagers.
And the youth aren't really explained what they're going to do. So most of them are just there because their friends are coming, their parents are there. So why not? Let's go hang out.
Well, like, yeah, that's the thing. Like, or their parents are taking the marriage conference.
Right.
And they don't want to be babysat, so we have to have them be helped. Like, these teenagers are not like, we want to serve and we love to watch kids. They're like teenagers who are just like, we got to go hang out at the church. Yeah, they want us to kind of play with the little kids, whatever.
Right. And so there's a handful of babies. So the nursery is actually across from where the youth are. So there's probably 5 or 6 girls sitting in the nursery playing with babies. The rest of the kids are running around the gym. So, like, when the youth first come in, you know, they want to play with the kids, whatever. But, of course, it's always dodgeball. And the dodgeball drives me nuts. So I let it go for a very short amount of time. And then I'm like, nope, put the balls away. We're done with the balls. And then we try outside. But because the youth kids, you know, they're kids. They don't know. They start letting kids out of the gate and everything else. And I'm like, nope, back inside. So I'm saying no to everything. So then we go back inside. The kids are just playing around with toys and stuff in the gym. Well, the youth kids are bored by this point. So that we have a big industrial-sized kitchen. So they're sitting on the counters in there. They're opening up the cupboards. They're getting out food. And this is another big no-no at Come As You Are, because there's stuff the funeral ladies have purchased. Men's breakfast and mom's group has supplies in the kitchen. Well, of course, mom's group has goldfish and all kinds of stuff. Well, the youth, they're in the kitchen, they're stuck, so they start having their own party in the kitchen. And then some of them are in the youth room hanging out. And at this point, I'm just like, I really don't even care anymore, whatever. And I'm trying to keep the little kids out of the kitchen, you know, because now the youth don't want to hang out with them. So a little kid comes in on like a little foot scoop bike and they're yelling, get out. You know, it's like a brother-sister thing now. And all of a sudden I realized I haven't seen some of the older youth kids for a while. And so I go in the youth door shut, which we've been arguing about the youth door shut this whole time because they're saying, well, the kids are coming in. We don't want them in here. And so I go to open, at first there's windows. So I go to look in the window. They have the window covered. And at this point in time, we don't cover the windows. There's no like lockdown stuff or anything we worry about. So I'm like, why did they do this? So now I'm instantly irritated and pissed. So I go to open the door. It's locked. So I'm banging on the door and they're laughing. And I'm like, this is Miss Brandi, let me in. They don't care. So they're just laughing, whatever. So then one of them comes over, opens the door, laughs, whatever. It's fine. And so I let it go, whatever. Well, then there's 2 that are dating. And they're very cozy on the couch. And this is very, you know, we're into purity and all this stuff at this time. And now looking back, I'm like, really? It was nothing.
They were holding hands on the couch and they didn't want you to see.
Yeah, it's like not a big deal at all. So some of the kids come out, whatever. And the 2 that are sitting on the couch shut the door. And now looking back, I'm like, I think honestly, they're older at this time. And mainly there's a lot of middle schoolers and, just a ton of little kids. So they're annoyed. They don't want to hear it anymore. They're stuck. It's not fun, whatever. I freak out and I'm banging on the door, whatever. And so they won't open the door. And I call Amanda because there is a master key, but that is one of the other things that only a chosen few have the master key.
I don't have the master key. Justin has a master key.
And I think at this time, there might be 8 to 10 master keys. They are very hard to come by. Copies will not be made. So I call Amanda and she can tell I'm done, but I'm acting like they're shooting a porno in the youth room.
And I'm like, you tell them that if they don't open this door, Miss Amanda's going to come down there with the key. And
they are going to bring horror down to us because they're sitting on the couch talking to each other, annoyed that they're stuck at the church. But the way I portray this is they brought in a camera crew and they're doing Girls Gone Wild at church.
And honestly, everybody in the church, and not just this one, thinks those children's ministry people, they're so amazing, always happy, always smiling. But the truth is, that's what's going on behind the scenes. They're not happy.
Yeah,
they're not smiling.
It's always chaos.
They're getting crapped on constantly. No.
Well, and it's so disorganized that someone had to go potty. So there's some youth girls that are really helping. But they don't know that if you take a 2-year-old into the bathroom, they're going to have a pull-up on. They can't sit down on the toilet by themselves. And so I have this chaos going on, yelling through the door, Miss Amanda's coming! All the kids running around the gym like maniacs. And a youth girl is holding the women's bathroom door open, yelling, Miss Brandi! Miss Brandi! There's poop everywhere! We didn't know! And so I'm like, oh my gosh. So I start to go to the bathroom, and all of a sudden a woman comes flying in through the gym doors.
Yeah. So
she is level 10 upset.
And you got to understand, the bathroom has double doors. It has a door that goes into the gym and it has a door that faces the sanctuary. So it's like a Jack and Jill type bathroom. You don't have to go. Yeah. There's 2 doors. So if you're standing on one and somebody comes bolting in the other one.
Yeah. Well, she comes through the gym doors.
Oh, into the gym. So, not into the bathroom. Yeah, so my bad.
The youth is she's holding the door open. I don't know which child it is. And I see this woman happens to be my friend come in. So now I'm like, crap, are they on a break? I'm like, now I'm going to have parents in the bathroom. I don't know what poop situation's happening.
You got kids doing porn in the youth room?
Yes.
I am so fired.
Yeah, she comes in. Well, and this is the other thing. I am not allowed to show any frustration or anger at all.
Yeah, nope. Tour guide Barbie all freaking day.
I am not serving the Lord if I show frustration. And I show frustration all the time. It's super difficult for me. And I'm loud. I yell. And what's funny is because Tom is this way. And I mirror Tom. But you can't do that as a female. So this woman comes in and she's my friend, so I know something is not okay. I can tell she is pissed, but she's crying. And I'm like, what the heck could have happened? And so she starts yelling that she's not breaking bread with sinners. And she's had it.
Oh my God.
She has had it with the sinning in the church.
What? Oh my God.
Yes. And I mean, she is convicted upset. And this woman normally, you can tell when she's irritated, whatever, but she's usually irritated about like someone is mean to my kid. Like she normally is not involved with the adults a whole bunch. She comes to mom's group, but like she doesn't really care that much.
Yeah, like she's
well,
pretty like
her-
even keel. Doesn't really
Yeah.
participate in either direction. She's not in the drama.
Mhm.
She's not in the drama. I was never in mom's group, so you guys know her a little better. But like, yeah, like this, like the fact that she was like freaking out and angry in the church and yelling this stuff or whatever, like hysterical, like that is not something I could ever see happening.
Well, and like, let's put in perspective. Her husband, their house is the beer ministry house.
Oh yeah,
Her
this
husband
her
is the
ministry
head.
wife.
Yeah, so she doesn't get involved in the church stuff because when it comes down to it, she still wants to live her life and she doesn't want to have to conform to the church's rules. And so the fact that they are there, they were asked to lead a table. They were facilitators. So
Yep.
whether they were B squad, C squad, whatever it was that they were picked on, I don't think they would have been,
They wouldn't have participated.
they wouldn't have been first round draft picks.
Well, and I don't know that they even would have gone because they're not, to me, it seems like, and this is just my outside looking in opinion, like they don't seem like the type of people that would be like, we need help in our marriage. We're going to go to a marriage conference. But they definitely seem like the type of people who are like, oh, you need us to help other people with their marriage? We'll come facilitate. I can see that.
Because their story is Master Life saved their marriage.
Yeah.
And they took Master Life once, and so then they never need to take it again. They've done what they've needed to do. They've taken the 101, 201, 301. They've done all of that. They don't need to go any further.
And this woman is quiet. She doesn't rock the boat. She flies under the radar. Her husband is a used car salesman, so he serves up the Kool-Aid.
Yep.
But he doesn't have to do anything. So for her to be so convicted, half the women come in to the gym through the gym doors and huddle her because God is convicting this woman right now and it's a big deal. Well, it starts to come out that the people she is sitting with who are, in their mid 50s,
they're old enough to be her parents.
Right. So their daughter is living in their basement with her boyfriend. But these people are in their mid to late 20s. She already has a daughter from a previous marriage. In the real world, this is nothing.
Right. So this young couple, they move in with their parents. They move in with their parents. They're getting back on their feet. They've had some struggles, whatever. And if I remember correctly, they moved in. The reason what came up is the lifestyle that they were living. It wasn't an issue and they were living it. And then she got pregnant and they were like, wow, we really need to like turn our lives around and do stuff. And so they moved back in with the parents. And this is the family.
They're attending.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're attending Come As You Are. They are really trying to make it work.
Yeah, they're really
they're trying to change their life.
And they were baptized. They were like they are on the up and up doing what they should do. And this is like maybe my place for a plug because this is one of the topics at Come As You Are that like if I'm going to get on a soapbox about something, the fact that you allow your church to tear you away from your children and shame them and shun them because of their lifestyle choices, because you have to be holier than thou. I'm sorry, parents, but go have a relationship with your kids. And if you really think your kids are going to hell, we'll go there with them. I'm sorry. That's my soapbox. That's my 2 seconds. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the story comes out as she's talking. She says that they're, eating and they're supposed to be sharing their marriage story with each other. And so everyone that's married shares. And this couple, they're the youngest couple at the table, share that, they're making life changes. They actually share quite a bit about their past. So they're already in a vulnerable position. And they say that they've moved back in, and I think the girl was actually in Master Life at this point. So she's talking a lot about how it's so positive. She loves this. She's never been in a place like this. And her boyfriend is kind of coming along, whatever. And as she's talking, the woman that gets angry says to her, "We shouldn't be sitting here with you breaking bread because you're living in sin." And for this woman to say this is a lot.
Yeah.
Because she floats in the middle in the gray.
Well, so that kind of makes me wonder, like, did Tom and Charlotte say something to them and hype them up in order to get them to...
No, because we have to remember what's happening in Mom's group at this time.
That's true.
We have the mom that has shared her 3 kids have 3 different dads. They're not married. This rocks Mom's group because it is pushed down everyone's throat that you should get married, have your kids, stay married.
Yeah, and I think because that even affected like why I got married, and did things the way I did. It's a big known at Come As You Are. Like, and especially with like Tom and the situation, like even with Froggy, like he'll tell people, but he doesn't live under my roof, He's living his own thing. He doesn't live under my roof. I don't allow him in my house. Like, I'm not condoning anything that they do. If my kids are doing it, they cannot live at my house, right? Like, it's a known that you have to be married. And they force people to get married. Like, there's even couples that I know about in the community who have ties to Come As You Are, and their adult children who've been together for years and have kids together and everything is functioning and working fine. They need to move in because, our economy is doing whatever it's doing. And then all of a sudden they're forced to get married because they can't live under their roof if they're not. But it was fine if they were living 3,000 miles away, not married for 10 years and have, a handful of kids. It's fine. But as soon as they're under their roof, now let's force them to get married. I don't get it. I don't get it. But anyway, it's a big thing.
Yeah.
So this lady's flipping out like, you guys are sinners and I can't have dinner with you. And she's crying and hysterical.
And this woman, when she gets upset, she starts crying. So she throws her fancy napkin down and goes in to the gym. Well, this is like a huge ripple through the sanctuary because this woman she talks to like 3 people.
Yeah.
And she's not one to quote scripture at you or anything like this. So everyone is like, oh my gosh, what's happening? Well, then when people start hearing what she says, and this woman, is sitting there bawling, who's trying to change her life.
Yeah, and the mom and the dad of this girl are flipping out. Oh my God.
Yeah, because this is your family.
Yeah.
We are your family. Get baptized, do Master Life. We are your family.
We love you. Come as you are.
Yes, they've been love bombed. So this woman's in the gym with her group of women. Well, all of a sudden, coming in hot is the gangsta chick from the church.
The park lady!
Froggy's park girlfriend.
Her and I have had a run-in before, and she will give you a run for your money. Yeah. So she comes in hot through the bathroom. Trailing her are some OGs that you do not mess with. And I go over to try to stop her because I'm like, it is going to go down in front of all these kids. And she does not care. Like and some of these women behind her do not care either. Like, I am like, we are going to have a mom's brawl in the gym in front of the kids. And so I try to stop her, and she just like pushes me out of the way and says, this has nothing to do with you. You weren't in there. I don't care if she's your friend. So it's, high school vibes. Some of the women that are a little bit rougher, that have been at the church since day one, tell me to like get out of the way. They're going to take care of this. So I am like, they're not going to take care of this the way Charlotte wants. I need to go get Charlotte. So I leave the gym. I yell to like some of the youth girls, watch the kids. I try to go find Charlotte. I cannot get into the sanctuary because there is a huddle of women. Twyla is bawling her head off because Twyla's son and girlfriend have been living in her basement. His girlfriend has just given birth because we are never pregnant. The woman is pregnant. Thank you very much. She has just given birth. So Twyla is hysterical.
Well, yeah, and this whole time they
participated in sin.
But this whole time it was okay because their bedrooms were on. One had a bed. The girlfriend was upstairs on the main level, and the son had the basement. So nothing was going on. They were giving her a place to live, but they had separate bedrooms, so it was okay. But she still ended up pregnant, and she just had a baby. And these people are like, we're living in sin. They just had a baby.
Well, and that's the thing is it's never addressed when this woman gets pregnant. Instead, what we do is Amanda and Brandi throw her a baby shower. We invite her to mom's group. We pretend that they're married.
Because Twyla mows the grass. Twyla cleans the bathroom. Twyla does all the stuff. And like Twyla is the most kind person you will ever know in your life. Like she will give her entire life for you.
Yeah, and she genuinely loves you and like will give her entire being to you. Yes.
She has given her entire life for the church. She is willing to do whatever. Tom takes advantage of her. There are 100%. Times this woman feels guilty. And over the years, there are times where she's like, I just feel like I shouldn't be getting paid for doing this. Like this woman is at the church 80 hours a week.
Yeah.
And she makes less money than us. I mean, I seriously think she makes like, at this point in time, I think she's making like $500 a month, and she's doing.
And she feels guilty for taking that money. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. She's
like, I just want to put in perspective as to like why does Twyla get a free pass, but this other family doesn't? Twyla gets a free pass because Tom picks and chooses who gets a free pass. He's not going to rock the boat with Twyla and her family because he needs her. If Twyla doesn't show up, who's going to have to clean the church?
Right.
Well, and her husband will do drywall. He'll build the building. He'll give Froggy a job. And if Jason needs a job, he can have a job with him. So there's a give and take happening that cannot be upset in the structure of all of this. So she's hysterically crying. So then you have another group of OGs, saying, it's okay. You didn't know. This isn't your fault. It's just hysterics everywhere. And so the rest of the people are in the sanctuary. I'd say probably 90% do not know what's happened, because unless you're drinking the Kool-Aid, you're not going to know what's going on.
Well, and we invited the community to this event. There's outside people there, and they're like, what is going on?
Yeah, so I can't even get to the sanctuary. I never make it in there. I just realized, like, oh my gosh. So I go and back into the gym, and I stand in the corner away from everyone, and I call Amanda and go, oh my God, you are not going to believe what's happening. You should have been here.
Beer ministry wife is saying this, Twyla's crying, gangster chicks about ready to throw hands, like.
Yes. So everybody moves back into the sanctuary. The mom that got super upset, her and her husband pack up their stuff. They leave. That whole table leaves and goes home. So now there's a very awkward gap that we cannot address. So enough time has been wasted. We are going to bring worship up. We are going to sing a song. Tom is going to say, this was planned this way. We are going to reconvene in the morning. So everyone goes home. But Tom and Charlotte go over to the Bear Ministry house to have a talk. Because you cannot behave this way.
Yeah.
Because I mean, this happens often to me. These talks.
Me too.
So I am dying because I know this is going on, and I can't wait for my friend to call me and tell me what they say to her. Because I'm like, because her and I are friends, but at the same time, she throws me under the bus a lot, and she loves when I get these talks. She loves it because I am deemed out of control all the time. I'm out of control, and I need to be.
Because she's the kind of person who will look at, she feels guilty about what she's doing. She knows that she isn't living the quote unquote come as you are perfect Proverbs 31 wife life. So she likes to look at other women and be like, well, I'm not as bad as her. Look at her. She's a mess. And so she loves to hear about when other women are struggling with something or other women get in trouble from Tom and Charlotte, because then it's like, oh, that's great because I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
So it makes her feel better about herself.
Exactly. And I am giving my life to this. Like, I am doing everything for everybody. Anybody who needs something, I am doing it. Because I'm modeling myself after. I can't really live up to Amanda because I can't put the nice spin on things, so I can only get so far with that. But I can serve to the death like Twyla. Like, I can serve, I can scrub toilets, I can mop, I can watch the kids, diapers, whatever I can do. So this woman doesn't like that because she doesn't want to do those things. And so I upset her life because it'll be questioned, why aren't you serving? Why aren't you doing this?
Did you ever find out what they said to her?
Yes. So so we clean up the church, whatever. I go home. I'm like waiting. And she calls. And I'm like, what happened? Are you in huge trouble? Because we all do talk like Tom is our dad and Charlotte's our mom, and we are adolescents. We live in a very adolescent state.
Yep.
And she's like, but this woman usually gets out of it because her husband will go toe to toe with Tom, and for some reason, and I think it's because her husband gives off the air of take it or leave it. I don't need anything from you, so I'll just walk away.
And when he says take it or leave it, it's a perception of money, which doesn't actually really come in. But
right, it doesn't add up. But see, that's the other thing with Tom. He sees something once and he assumes something completely else. So, he thinks these people are very high tithers, because you saw one check for $500. You think they're tithing that weekly, when in all reality, they're tithing it twice a year.
Yeah.
But he doesn't ever check into anything. So she calls and she says, oh yeah, he was super mad and told me I can't do this. And, we love people. That's what makes us different. We're following Jesus. We're not living in the world. Gives his whole speech. We've all heard 100 times. And I'm like, oh my gosh. He said, they are not saved. We cannot hold them to the level we are holding each other. You can't do that to people. So she stops him and says, well, you just baptized both of them 2 weeks ago. Ooh. And Tom does not.
He didn't even. He was like, you can only hold accountable those who. That was his big excuse. You're right, but only for those who are saved. So they're not saved. So we can't treat them like that. We have to be welcoming and loving. And then she goes, but they said they're saved and you baptized them. What happened? What happened? I want to know.
Let's look at like how baptism works, because like Justin is the one who's physically doing the dunking.
Yeah.
But if you want to be baptized, you have to go sit down in Tom's office with him and have a meeting. And you basically have to explain to him, and then he video records you giving your reason why you want to be baptized. And then that video gets played in the sanctuary before you actually get baptized during the service. And so there's no reason why Tom
wouldn't know. No, that just tells you it's more about Go ahead, Brandi.
A black man with I don't know if he had dreadlocks or
no, a black man with dreadlocks. He's the only black man in the whole church. How do you not remember approving the baptism of a black man?
Well, but here's the thing. Like, that just tells you that it's all about the appearance of baptism and there is no true investment. When you say that Tom is not a people person and he does not like people, he's not investing in people. He wants to look like a church that's growing. So we need to have, we got to have people getting baptized continually, because that looks like a church that's healthy and it looks like a church that is growing. But honestly, like, the fact that like these people are like, you will remember that you had a conversation with this man who has very distinct features and you don't remember baptizing him?
Which,
red flag.
I think we'll go into that over on our Patreon, because there's a whole level of baptism that just like that's a whole episode in and of itself. So head over to our Patreon. We'll have that over there.
Yeah, because they were in Master Life, so that we can explain that.
They were going through the steps. It's like they're just going through the steps. It's a machine. It is put the people in, crank the people out, and the fact that he got called out. Like, so what happened after that? I want to know what happened after that.
So he's like kind of stutters and stumbles because she's got him.
Yeah.
And this is my mecca, because I try to get Tom all the time. This is why him and I go round and round, because I'm always trying to point out the contradictions. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that. And, and so I'm like, so what'd he say? Well, he doesn't say anything. Charlotte wraps it up in a bow and explaining why we have to love people, and she'll make you feel so small.
Yeah.
For not loving people.
And she talks like this and is so sweet, but she makes you feel like the most horrible person in the world.
Well, they're baby
as she's
Christians.
Talking like this.
Yes. So they leave. So nothing's resolved.
Wow.
And my friend says, we're not going back tomorrow. I'm not doing this again. I already had to do this with the other woman in Mom's group, and I can't do this. And the sad thing is, this woman went through such emotional turmoil for like a year, not letting her kid play with this other kid because she was so worried about sinning because of what was going on in that other woman's house. She constantly talked about it with Amanda and I, I don't even feel like I can be with her at Mom's group. Like, she took this other woman's sin on in such another level that it was actually crazy, and it was actually very sad for this woman.
That's
and I don't.
That's
horrible.
Why. Yeah.
I don't know why, but I think there's things that all of us do in this situation. With this, this woman also, she doesn't talk to her family. She doesn't speak with her brother. All of us that are in this core group have some kind of thing in our past that will cause us to hyperfixate on something like this, and it destroys relationships.
Yeah. And for her, it was people living in like, I can't be a part of that. And I can't like, and it's so isolating and it's divisive. And you're
and it was
in a church.
It was fear. She was so afraid.
Right. Yeah. Well, but that's the system. Like that's how the system is designed. The system is designed to be divisive. The system is designed to be isolating, and the system is designed to keep you living in fear. 3 things that if you are a Bible believing, following Christian are not anything of Jesus or of God. Like it's actually, and then, but you're being convinced that you're being a holier than thou, you're being a good Christian. Not even holier than that. You're just being a good Christian.
And this is what ruins the relationship between mom's group, because Amanda and I are friends with the woman with 3 kids with 3 different dads. I don't care. I actually support her and I'm like, it's no big deal. We're moving forward, whatever. No one really cares. But by this woman being stuck on this, it plants seeds in our heads of, because none of us know what we're doing, but we're all pretending that we have this like magic spiritual relationship, and God's revealing these like things to us, like Moses level things to us all the time. So when this woman who never speaks up, never says anything, is so convicted by this, we start thinking like, oh, maybe we should be too. Yep. And so that's why this woman with the 3 kids ends up having so many problems. Yeah. And it, at one point it ends up that I'm mean to her and all these things. And it's just kind of funny because you don't realize the machine that's happening. Yeah.
Well, I imagine that the next day of the marriage conference was probably a total flop because of these shenanigans the night before.
Well, and I know there were several people who didn't come back.
Yeah.
And so like
I can imagine
I so wish, like, because I mean also Come As You Are was not known for like, let's have information from people and follow up and like all of that at this point in time. Like that's kind of what I was brought on to do in the office. So like there's not a lot of follow up. So like I would love to know, like, if you're a listener out there and you like you attended this,
I want to
know. And you were not like a Come As You Are person. Like you were in the general public and you came to this thing and like that was your impression of, like, I would love to talk to you because like I can't imagine what people thought.
It was, we're good at making it not look like anything's happening though.
Yeah.
Because these kind of things happen all the time during big events. So the majority
to the people that are drinking the Kool-Aid.
But
like
I was going to say, but
if you're not drinking the Kool-Aid, how weird, like, and awkward. And you're like, when we say we were in a cult, you're like, yeah, you were. We knew that because we went to the marriage conference.
And really, what I believe turned people off and why they didn't come back is because you came to get marriage advice, but you were told about master life. The gospel was shared. The next step classes. What we're doing at Come As You Are.
Yeah.
So people felt like their time was wasted more than anything. And that's the majority of the reason why people usually don't come back to things. Yeah. Because we never get to the point.
And like, I know looking back, like I didn't know this at the time, but looking back and fleshing this stuff all out, you're like, this is why it was never really talked about. Like it just kind of went away. Like it was never brought up ever again because it was a huge failure. But I mean, something good came out of it.
All the recordings we were supposed to do, that never came to fruition.
Well, there was no sound person. We have to call Beth Moore on her.
But this is every event.
It's crazy.
This is nothing spectacular in the grand scheme.
Yeah,
and that's what, when those sanctuary doors close, it's a different world.
Yeah.
So like the core people knew if you attended every Sunday, you knew something was going on. But we're very, very good at hiding things. Yeah. And then no one else was coming into the gym.
No.
So the next day, what's funny is a lot of people that didn't come back were the people that honestly, they only participated a tiny bit.
Yeah.
Even the OGs. They're not coming back on Saturday. No. This is their excuse. Why not?
Yeah.
So I feel like most of it was used as an excuse not to come back. People that wanted help were like, this is weird. If anyone picked up on what was happening, they're like, oh, no, thank you. But the reality is this is how every single event happens, except for the big park event.
Right. But you know what?
Because we never moved forward.
The good thing that came out of it is we got to have Pastor Vanilla lead this marriage Bible study weekly 6-week thing called Reengage.
Yeah. So Tom's thing is an epic failure. People are sad, and it's not like the general public is upset. His person he needs to clean the building is upset. People he views as big tithers are upset. So he has to do damage control. There's still people who are like, this was great and wonderful. My marriage still sucks. So what are you going to do about this?
Right.
And so,
because it wasn't the next day, it was the carry on.
Yes.
After.
Yeah. There's still people that are like, that did nothing for me. And so Tom had to make it seem like, oh no, the conference wasn't supposed to fix your marriage. This was just to introduce you to, now we have this new ministry.
That's totally how it was spun too. Oh my God.
Nobody knows what's going on. Nobody knows anything about this ministry. Vanilla and his wife went to one little weekend conference, and we're going to build an entire ongoing ministry through this. So we're going to get to that in a couple episodes. And we are going to tell the story of Reengage, because everything happens so fast. All of this stuff happens just rapid fire. And you think it's like, oh, that was like the course of a year. And you're like, no, that was like 2 months. And so we need to do Reengage, but we need to have people who actually know what they're doing. So this proved to Tom, you cannot throw facilitators in there with nothing. Like, it's going to explode, right? So we need to have core facilitators, and they need to go through all of Reengage. They need to take the entire course themselves so that they know what the material is, so that they can then present it to people. So there are a handful of couples that get chosen to go through Reengage for 6 weeks, and they are going to be the quote unquote leaders of Reengage. But during this 6-week period, we're also doing women's retreat in VBS. So we're going to talk about that too. But Melissa, go.
He's not doing this because there's problems with the marriages and you need to give people information and equip them. He is doing this because people will not leave him alone.
Oh, exactly. 100%.
And his whole takeaway from the marriage conference was, this is a small example of why we don't have small groups. Those tables were like small groups.
Yep. And so the thing is,
you want this? Here you go.
And he doesn't have to do it because he has Pastor Young Gun and now Pastor Vanilla, who are going to charge the way. And
he wants to show you're not listening to me.
Yep.
I know more than you. So you want a marriage ministry? Here you go.
Burning Butterflies is a listener-supported podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by our amazing supporters on Patreon.
Follow the link in our show notes to learn how you can become a Patreon supporter too. Supporters get exclusive access to bonus content each month, including outtakes, cut content, and supporter-only episodes. If you've enjoyed this episode, please leave us a rating on your listening platform.
Burning Butterflies is a production of Asha Media. Thank you for listening.